just so you know, I will be going in depth. No side game or Metroid Prime spinoff will be spared in this discussion.
How many are there?
Good.
Let's see. There's Metroid Prime 1, there's Metroid Prime 2, there's Metroid Prime Hunters, there's Metroid Prime Hunters First Hunt, there's Metroid Prime Pinball, there's Metroid Prime 3, there's Metroid Prime Trilogy, there's Metroid Prime Federation Force, and then there's the upcoming Metroid Prime 4.
Okay, so like 4, we're saying?
I mean, kind of.
Not good.
Yeah,
numbers.
just a little. Just a little bit more than 4.
There's like 12, but there's actually 4.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah. Kind of like Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, exactly.
Why don't you
There's
just
like
say that then,
17.
Kozi? Come on. Welcome back to the Storymoders podcast. My name is Robert, his name is Mike, and his name is Kozibear. Hi, everybody. How you doing?
Hey!
How you doing, Mikey? How you doing, Kozi?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here again.
Floor's broken.
Happy to be here. Well, floor's
Broke a
broken.
floor?
Yep, don't fall through it.
Yeah, don't do that. That'd be bad.
Yeah. That'd be real bad.
Kozi, yes. Kozi's joining us today, not for a fun quiz game that he's made up.
No, it's not going to be fun. Not going to be a fun
It's
episode
not going to be
at
a fun time at all.
It's gonna be a slog. If
You're going to learn.
if you're gonna harken
Yeah.
back to the days of the Kingdom Hearts trilogy and the
The days,
Octuplet.
as if that wasn't just 2 episodes ago.
I mean, it's funny you bring that up because honestly, like part of the reason why I pitched this episode to you guys is because I saw the recent episode on, the more recent Kingdom Hearts games that you did with Verum Dex. And I was like, this is true. I'm actually a pretty big Kingdom Hearts fan myself. I actually know quite a bit about that franchise. You could have had me on that episode and I would have been like, yep, totally know about that. Totally know about the Master of Masters. Totally know about what's his face, Yozora. Like, I would have done great on that episode. And I was like, well, if I'm not going to be on that episode, I need to have a super nerdy, in-depth episode that I can call my own. And so here we are.
Yep. We will get into that here momentarily. Beforehand, though, we just, a little catching up. Mikey, how you doing?
You mean to tell me I could have gotten out of that shit
No.
and just tagged in my Canadian brother here?
No,
No?
because if Kozi was here, it would have been 4 of us. That was
Are
all
you
for
saying
you,
that you
Mike.
don't understand or appreciate the world lines? Are you saying that you don't appreciate what's it called, Quadratum, the city
Son of
that's
a
not a
bitch.
city that does and doesn't exist all at once?
They talked at me for 6 hours, not all in a row.
We could have.
And it was just, you could have.
We
You
1000%
really could've.
could have just done it in one go.
Man, and that extra live stream would have been real weird.
Yeah.
Real weird.
Quadratum, is it part of the world ends with you? It would seem not, even though it does have the exact same building at Shibuya Crossing that's featured in those worlds. Lot to think about.
Actually, it does,
Lot
yeah,
to
because
think about.
the one in the real Shibuya has a different number. That's it. We'll get into that later. I got my beer. Mike, what have you been playing besides Cyberpunk? Anything?
No, just Cyberpunk.
Oh, fair enough then.
Yeah, that's
All right.
I haven't had a ton of time to do much else. So,
Not particularly relevant to the topic of today's show, but I've been playing a crap ton of Hades 2. It's my first time playing the game. I didn't play it during the beta. I almost said beta, but it's beta. It's beta. It's beta, right? I'm correct about that?
Sure.
Beta.
In this country, yeah.
Doesn't matter because I never played it during that period, whose name we shall not say. I waited until it came to its first proper release on the Switch 2, and man, this game, just a great ass time. I enjoyed the original
How does
Hades
it run on the
just
Switch
fine.
2? Does it run well?
It runs great.
Okay.
No real complaints. No real complaints. Mind you, I never played it during the period that we shall not say the name of, so I can't, use that as a point of comparison, but it plays great. The Hades one, a game that I enjoyed quite a bit, but I had a few qualms with here and there, certain quality of life features that I thought it was lacking, didn't really like the way that casts worked in that game. Hades 2 pretty much solved all my problems. I've beaten Chronos 2 times by now. Time has been defeated twice, and I still have quite a few times to go, but I am looking forward to them.
Nice.
Is that the same Kronos from Mortal Kombat? Isn't there
Maybe?
Chronos in Mortal Kombat? I don't know.
I'm not very familiar with the Mortal
Yeah.
Kombats.
Nobody is.
Is Kronos in Mortal Kombat spelled Kronos?
Fucking everything in
With a
Mortal
K.
Kombat is spelled with a K.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know.
Even sandwich somehow. They stick a K in there somehow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly where you think it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like oh, never mind. I was going to get into like gang stuff, but that's not the point. So you've been
I thought
playing.
you were about to say you're going to get deep into Mortal Kombat lore, and I'm like, I can't. I got things to do.
Anyone out there knows Mortal Kombat lore? Hit us up.
Sorry, you mean Mortal Kombat Color? That's what they call it in Mortal Kombat.
Damn it, there, it's right there the whole time. Shit.
Oh man.
Man.
Well, I have been playing fuck all this last week. Really.
Wow.
I did a bit of
Great
Yakuza Kiwami the other night, and that's. Oh no, no. Yeah, last week I played Fallout 76. And this week we're playing
old
Fallout
Fallout
76 on
76.
Thursday. Yeah. The night this goes up, community night, Storymoders community night on my Twitch, Mike's Twitch, our YouTube. It's going to be a vertical thing, plus Verum Dex's Twitch and the Neon Pocket Dimension Twitch. We're doing a big old Fallout 76 community night. So if you've got it on Xbox, or if you have Game Pass, that means you have it on Xbox, go ahead and install it, hit us up, and join us. It's going to be a fun time.
Yeah.
That's tonight.
Walden
as this goes up.
Goggins. Walden Goggins is like, hey, remember the time I was in season 3 of Marvel What If? I was a Western dude in that country episode.
Oh my god. But what I'm going to do really quick, I ordered something and forgot about it because I was drunk.
Oh god.
And it showed up. I was at Riot Fest and ordered something from the merch thing, but it was sold out there. And then I got a thing. Let's see.
It's
glowing.
brilliant. Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh shit.
Oh, that's a nice shirt. Nice little dress shirt. Maybe it's a bathing suit, though. I can't really tell, actually.
Is it a poncho?
Oh, no, it is a shirt. It
yeah,
is
it
something
is.
you wear on the upper section of your body. Oh, what's happening?
Now he's trying.
What's he doing?
I muted
It's
because I
open.
didn't want... This is just loud.
Oh.
The
That's the best part, though. People pay bajillions of dollars
That's
to
true.
listen
That's
to
true.
the crinkling of
Yeah, here's the
packages being
ASMR.
opened. Yeah, if you want to be a successful YouTuber podcaster, you got to leave that stuff on.
gotta. Oh, there's
Oh wait,
shorts.
so
We
it
were
is a
wrong.
pair of shorts. Oh, well, the suspension of disbelief of plot twist of shorts.
Jesus, neither of us had that one.
Yeah, could still be a bathing suit though.
Oh, and a
so
shirt.
it is a
Okay.
shirt. Okay, so it was
It's-
both.
It's a
This
beach
is-
outfit.
The plot twist after the plot twist.
So we're
right.
going to.
I'm not going to put
So
this
we're-
on right now because my work has a button-up shirt policy.
Oh.
And this is a shirt with buttons on it.
That is.
So,
You know what? You're not wrong. It's got buttons on it.
That's a great idea, honestly.
Yeah.
More people should do
There we
that.
go.
Come into work wearing the most fabulous of shirts that just brighten up everyone's day.
Riot Fest shirt short combo. Yeah, oh, these things
Love
look
it.
comfy as fuck too. And
Yeah.
oh wait, do they have pockets? They have actual pockets? No. Oh yes, they do. Oh,
I was about
Oh
to
my
say
God,
we
it's
can
so
make
nice.
pockets.
yeah. No, it's so nice.
Does
to
your
find shorts with
company's
pockets.
does your company's button-up policy extend to those like full like jumpsuits with like the butt flap that you got to button up? Because those are technically buttons.
That's true. That's true.
I was going to say nothing in the rule book. Nothing in the rule book says you can't
Nothing in the
use
rule book
those.
says a dog can't play basketball. You know.
Oh man,
God.
wonder what Airbud is doing today. What do you think he's up to?
Dead.
I don't know, but
Oh
imagine.
no,
being,
really?
Yeah, that movie came out like
I mean,
20 years ago. And he was
that's
already an
true.
adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly like you hear about some of the stories from the making of that movie. Can you believe that they had to break that man's arms to fit him into dog costume?
It was
It's
ridiculous.
crazy.
Yeah,
I'm
But you
happy
know what? It's
for
worth
You know,
it. It's all up there on the screen.
Yeah, it made movie magic and then blurry again.
Yep.
Oh,
there
man.
you are. Well,
oh well,
you-
shake your hands. This is a legitimate suggestion. Maybe like but do it in like a slower motion because you want the camera to. There you go, like that. Oh, no, no.
It's being a piece of shit.
There we go. We're
There
back.
it is.
Turn automatic focus off. So
Okay.
There we
you
go. We did it.
And exposure, because that was pissing me off too. Okay, we are
Hold on.
all
Before
caught
we
up.
get off of air.
We're
Before
not
we
all
get
caught
off
up.
of air, bud. Could you just imagine being one of the parents of the kid on the opposite team? Like he's getting crossed up by a fucking dog.
Yeah.
Just like, how can you comfort your child after that?
So why don't you get the ball?
pull-
Look, I don't think I could touch him. That foul zone is
Just
so
pull him into the
weird.
back corner, and you're like, you're not getting any Labubus for Christmas, son.
The fucking dog, son. This is why you're gonna go live with mom.
Oh, man, I know that you really want those K-pop Demon Hunter skins in Fortnite, but you're not getting them for a week, Mr. Man.
No, if you were a good coach, what you would do, if you were the opposite team and you were the coach,
You would commit seppuku in the middle of the battlefield.
no, you would buy just a bag of bacon bits and just put them in your players' pockets.
Oh,
Airbud will foul out
Yes.
immediately.
You might say that, but I feel like that has the potential to really backfire, because how do you know that Airbud won't turn into just like the most ravenous biting dog when he smells bacon bits, and he's just going to bite the kids' assholes off?
Hey,
Yeah,
either he fouls out or you lose one kid. Okay, maybe put it on like the worst kid first and see how it goes.
Hey, Georgie Porgy, how do you like some bacon bits? Don't eat them, Georgie
Yeah.
Porgy. Just put them in your pockets
pocket there,
and just
little bud.
go on into the
Little
field.
buddy. Yeah.
Stevie, come here.
Yeah.
Come here. Yeah, I know you don't even start on freshman, but we need you right now. Put this bacon in your pocket. Don't worry about the dog. He's friendly. He seems all right.
He's good.
No
Yeah,
hard
he seems
fouls.
fine. Yeah.
Oh, sweet Jesus. All right. Well,
Oh no,
real
he's using Georgie Porgy's head as a basketball. Wait, that counts for 4 points? How's it even legal?
the fuck is this? Rockin'
It
Jock?
just completely backfires on them.
Nothing in the rules says a dog can't play basketball.
If he were the opposing coach, the smart thing would be buy a bag of hammers and beat the other coach to death.
Did you know that this episode is about Metroid Prime and the imminent release of Metroid Prime 4?
Not
Oh, yeah,
anymore.
that's what it's about.
Airbud. I think there's more Airbud movies than there are fucking Metroid games.
There probably are.
It's a whole
Actually,
cinematic universe. But
We'll get into that next week.
yeah. Actually, next week we don't have a topic, so fucking maybe. Who knows? Okay, guys. We're being silly.
We're just joshing ya.
We're just joshing you. You know. But what we'll do is let's run a quick little video for our good friend French Dip Design. He is the creative director on an upcoming film. It is currently being seeded. I think it funded on. Once again, cannot remember the name. I'm sorry.
I looked
sorry,
it up the
Cameron.
other week and I immediately
Yeah.
forgot. Sorry, Cameron.
But the film itself is called Pancake Skank, and here's a video of
awesome.
Cameron telling you how to help fund it with the link and everything in there that he
yeah.
actually knows. But take a look.
Yeah, we're not going to leave you hanging.
Yeah. Cameron might, because I may have edited it out. I don't know.
Hey friends, Cameron French here, also known as the French Dip Design, and I'm the art director behind the new and upcoming short film Pancake Skank, which is currently being crowdfunded on Seed and Spark. Today I'm going to walk you through how to create an account on the Seed and Spark platform, how to look up film information, and how to pledge your support to make that film a reality. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to seedandspark.com. On this homepage, you can see tons of films that are currently being crowdfunded. One of them happens to be Pancake Skank, which we're super hyped about. To create an account, over on the right-hand corner, click that sign up button. You can either use an existing Google account or enter in some basic information, name, email address, password, and the city that you currently reside in. And then you click that blue create account button. And just like that, you are now in the Seed and Spark platform. And use that search button. We'll search for Pancake Skank, since this is the film that I'm currently working on. Myself and the entire team behind Pancake Skank have put so much work into making not only a really cool pitch video, which you should definitely check out, but also tons of information about the story behind the film, what's our mission statement, what's the genre and tone, the team behind the film, so you can see every member of the cast and crew. But then over here on the right hand side is something that I'm really excited about. These are tons of incentives that we put together, so that way no matter what monetary value you are able to support us with, you're going to get something in return. You can see there's tons of different options. $10, our lowest level, is a social media shout out on the official Pancake Skank Instagram account. One of the most popular ones is for $100, you'll be immortalized with the rest of the cast and crew on the final credits of the short film. Once you find an incentive level that you want to support us with, click that level. It'll give you some more information about what incentive level you are purchasing. Click the proceed to payment button. And this is where you can either choose to be public with your information and your pledge or anonymous. You can enter in your credit card information, click the blue complete order button, and then you'll receive an email from Seed and Spark confirming exactly the incentive level that you've chosen and the amount of money that you've helped pledge to support independent artists. And that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to message us at the Pancake Skank Instagram account, anywhere on social media. We're very happy to help you and walk you through the process. But yeah, that's how you support artists in a real direct way on the Seed and Spark platform. 100% of the money that you donate will go directly to the filmmakers, crew to make that film a reality. Thank you so much, y'all. I hope you choose to support Pancake Skank while we are doing our crowdfunding campaign. Have a great rest of your day.
See here, according to IMDb, Pancake Skank is a surrealist satirical comedy about an anti-heroine loving pancake skank and her unlikely partner in crime, Loverboy, wreaking havoc on a small town and all its breakfast joints. I feel like I might have read this before. Did we read this on a previous podcast?
Not on this one.
I don't think so. No.
Maybe I read it somewhere in the Discord. Sounds great, though. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Full.
I'm here for
this
it.
gets the full Kozi seal of approval.
All right. Yes, as Kozi mentioned earlier, and as we mentioned before the little intro, and as you can see in the fucking thumbnail, it's not a surprise. We're talking Metroid Prime. We are talking Metroid Prime. Kozi hit me up a little bit ago because we were planning on, we did our Kingdom Hearts episodes, and then Kozi hit us up and was like, "Hey, do you guys can I join you and talk about the Metroid Prime 4 upcoming release?" And we said, "Fuck yeah," because I haven't played them. Mike?
Yeah.
No, I've always been interested in them.
Yeah.
Because I love
Have
the
you
old
guys-
Metroid games, and I'm like, okay, let's see what this has got.
So that's the question I had. Have you guys played any Metroid games, period, Prime or otherwise?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Original Super Metroid, Metroid Fusion, probably some other ones that I'm forgetting.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like
Cool.
I haven't played much Metroid, but I've read a lot of Metroid like lore and like story stuff because it's very interesting. But growing up, I was a Genesis kid, and then a PlayStation kid, and then an Xbox dude. So like I never had a GameCube, so I never was able to get like Prime or Prime 2.
Yeah.
I had a Wii, but I lent it to a coworker once and then got it back 2 years later.
Oh no.
Because
Oh,
no, not because he wouldn't give it back, just because I forgot about it.
Yeah.
'Cause it just
I
didn't
once
fucking
tried to
use it.
do that with a friend in high school where I borrowed their copy of, this is relevant, Kingdom Hearts 2. I borrowed their copy of Kingdom Hearts 2 for the PS2, and I hoped that they would forget that they lent it to me, and then I got an angry call a couple of months later. I was like, "You never gave that guy a copy of Metroid Prime." I'm
like,
getting, my
"Bitch, you
brain is
asked
getting
for
so
it, I'm still
scrambled
playing
right
it."
now that
It's very
somehow my friend asked for Metroid Prime 2. They wanted Kingdom Hearts 2 back, and I had to return it to them.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just never the Nintendo dude. So I've played Super Nintendo, or not Super Metroid a little bit on, I think, like one of the little mini consoles or something, or like the virtual console, all that shit.
Super Nintendo, whatever it was called.
Yeah.
The Super whatever.
Super Metroid for the SNES.
It was the
But that's
SNES
kind of
Classic,
how
if
far
you-
of how much
NES Classic, there we
I
go.
played of Metroid. But this new one looks pretty cool. I like the trailers so far.
There is certainly a lot to talk about. So let's start right at the very, very, very beginning. I'm not going to go in depth into all the non-Metroid Prime games on this particular episode because we're going to be here forever if we try to do so. So I'm going to keep things mostly contained to just talking about the Prime series, but I will set the table a little bit to talk a little bit about the origins of the Metroid series. Metroid series, of course, debuted in 1986 in North America. Whenever I bring up a date on this podcast, I'm just going to be going with the North American release for a matter of consistency. Of course, the original Metroid on the NES, a very pivotal game, a game that, many people have a tremendous amount of nostalgia for. It's also a game that I have always kind of struggled with a little bit. I think it's the ultimate example of a game that definitely deserves to be in a museum, but that you don't necessarily have to play, even if you are a super fan of the Metroidvania genre. Actually, I don't know. Maybe I would say that if you are a super fan of the Metroidvania genre, that at the very least you should try it. It's not absolutely required playing, though.
No.
5 years later, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, if you're going to say you're a Metroidvania, like, super fan, play a Castlevania and play a Metroid. The two things
Symphony of the Night
form the portmanteau.
And play Super Metroid.
Right.
Yeah.
So 5 years after that, we got Metroid 2, Return of Samus on the Game Boy, a game that I'm very fond of, but that did slightly dumb down the design of the game to kind of fit it on the smallness of the original Game Boy screen. That game infamously has a huge Samus sprite. I'm very fond of that game, but it is, it is very much a Game Boy game through and through. And then a few years after that, in 1994, we got Super Metroid, obviously an all-time classic, a pivotal game, a evolutionary game in the Metroidvania genre. It is one of the two games alongside Castlevania Symphony of the Night that gave birth to said genre.
Yes.
And it's also a game that did decently in terms of sales, but not so much that Nintendo was hungering to immediately start pumping out more and more sequels. And so the Metroid series went into a bit of a long hibernation period. Samus Aran popped up in a couple of games in the preceding years. Preceding years? No, that means the years before.
The following years.
The following years.
Ensuing years.
Proceeding. That's the thing. I was like, why am I getting this incorrect? And it's because it's literally a letter off. Don't you hate it when it's like you're a letter off and the meaning of your word means something entirely? It means the complete opposite of what you're trying to say. In the proceeding years, Samus would obviously continue to appear in a variety of different games here and there, such as probably the most prominent example being the Super Smash Bros. Games on the Nintendo 64. But there was no Metroid Nintendo 64 game to speak of in the way that Zelda got Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, Mario got Mario 64, and so many other side games and spin-offs. But eventually, in November of 2002, we got the original Metroid Prime, a game developed by Retro Studios, a studio based out of Austin, Texas. Now, Retro Studios, the kind of history of that whole studio is pretty long and interesting. There's a article on Polygon from a couple of years ago that went in depth into the kind of unlikely history of how that studio kind of came to be and the road to the development of the original Metroid Prime that I encourage everyone to definitely go and check out at some point. A lot of people who who kind of like helped form Retro Studios during its early days came from Iguana Entertainment, which is a studio that previously had worked on a bunch of sports games and also Turok 1 and 2 for the Nintendo 64. So that was sort of their pedigree. The kind of basic long and short of things is that during the first few years of their existence, Retro Studios developers tried to come up with a variety of different projects. One of the games they were working on was an action game called Raven Blade, ended up not going anywhere. Eventually, after a lot of conceptualizing, a couple of visits from Shigeru Miyamoto and other executives from Nintendo, they landed the opportunity to make a new 3D game in the Metroid Prime series. And the funny thing about Metroid Prime 1 is nowadays, Metroid Prime 1 is remembered as a classic within the genre, a 3D, action adventure platformer Metroidvania game loved the world over. But prior to its release, there was a lot of apprehension going into the game, much like how during the same era, there was a lot of apprehension going into games like The Wind Waker, for example. When it was revealed that Retro Studios, and unproven American developer based in Austin, Texas, was going to be taking the Metroid series in a first-person direction, a lot of people were, somewhat justifiably a little bit concerned. To them, the core of what made the Metroid series great was the, item gating Metroidvania gameplay that was so kind of typified by Super Metroid. And it seemed, without having, properly experienced the game, like Retro Studios was taking the series in more of a shootery direction by putting it in a
Like
first-person
bastardizing it.
perspective.
Yeah.
Exactly. And nonetheless, Metroid Prime 1 came out in 2002 and blew expectations away. Fears were completely unfounded. Metroid Prime 1 ended up being a almost pitch perfect translation of the series' core gameplay into 3D and kind of cemented Metroid as being sort of like the third pillar of like the holy Triforce of Nintendo franchises. The other two Triforce pieces in this case being Mario and Zelda, in that all three of these particular franchises had a incredibly
Mario
memorable
and
start.
Kirby, probably.
Mario and Zelda.
No, Kirby.
No,
Kirby
no.
and
I have a
Turok.
lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for Kirby. Turok, you know, we haven't had a good game in a while. Mario, Zelda, Metroid, in that all three of these games had a, you know, incredibly memorable and influential start on the NES. All three franchises had a like significant evolution on the Super Nintendo into the 16-bit era. And then all three games had basically a pitch perfect evolution into the realm of 3D, the likes of which most, you know, other video game franchises, you know, were not privy to during this particular era. You
Turok
think
and
about how
Mother.
many other franchises tried to make the jump to 3D and weren't able to, you know, fully leap the gap. Metroid Prime 1, you know, we were talking a little bit earlier about, you know, our collective experiences with this game. So I actually played the Metroid Prime series out of order. I actually started with 3 because I only really got into the Metroid Prime series during the Wii era. I probably should have started with that a little bit earlier. That's a little bit of a plot twist, I acknowledge, with regards to my own experience with the franchise. So I ended up playing these series out of order.
I started the Yakuza games with Yakuza Like a Dragon, which is like number 7.
Yeah.
That's true. To be
Yeah.
fair, though,
You know what I mean?
Yakuza Like a Dragon is not numbered. Like, it is Yakuza
It is, actually.
7.
Yeah.
It is?
Well, it doesn't have the number, but it is the 7th.
Well, that's what I'm
mainline.
saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I started with Metroid Prime 3, which prominently has 3 on the box. Anyways, play the games out of order. The thing that I really appreciate whenever I've gone back to the kind of original version of Metroid Prime in the past is just sort of how good jumping feels in 3D. I'm not going to sit here and claim that the like shooting mechanics of Metroid Prime 1 hold up incredibly well compared to other games of the era. It's not necessarily like a great shooter in the way that something like Halo is, but the act of jumping and platforming in 3D feels exceptionally good in that game compared to most other games that kind of come to mind from that particular era of gaming. And so I have a tremendous amount of respect to it for that. And I also just respect how much that game's world is just evocative and deep and mysterious. The art direction, the soundscape, the soundtrack, that game is just like from top to bottom an almost perfect video game.
Well,
although
as you say that, I did a little bit of I took a little bit of notes earlier today. Metroid Prime, November 18th, 2002 in North America, which
Yes.
I honestly, like, it makes sense that Retro Studios is an American company, but I didn't realize that Metroid Primes 1, 2, and 3 both came out in North America before anywhere else in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's always been a franchise that it has appealed more to American gamers than it has Japanese gamers.
But yeah, November 18th, 2002, and the same day, and I remember that the same day as Metroid Fusion for the GBA, like those were released simultaneously in North America, at least.
And there was connectivity between the two games.
Yeah.
You could link them up using the GameCube's link cable, and you could play as the Fusion suit in Metroid Prime. For the re-release of Metroid Prime that we got just a few years ago, they made it so that
February
you can
9th,
just
2023.
you can just unlock the Fusion suit in that game, like without having to do any link ups, obviously, because that's not an option anymore on the
and
Nintendo Switch.
as of, you know, I took the notes today. You say Metroid Prime is almost like a pitch perfect, you know, Metroid game. It is the 11th highest rated video game of all time on Metacritic.
Damn.
Yeah,
Just outside
that
of the top
is
10. Like,
yeah, well deserved. Well deserved. Although it is, what I was going to allude to very briefly earlier is that it is, all that said, my second favorite Metroid game. Will my first favorite Metroid game pop up a little bit later in this conversation? We shall certainly see. Before we
weird
can
if
get
it
to that,
didn't.
however, it would
Yeah.
certainly be weird. We have to talk a little bit about
also,
Metroid
really,
Prime 2.
Before we
Yes.
jump in, so like you just went through the games that came out before Prime. Were there only 2 or 3?
Yeah,
there was the one for the NES, the Game Boy one, and the SNES, and then those are the only Metroid games.
Yeah, there were only Metroid 1, only Metroid 2, and Super Metroid.
That's
right.
Yeah, like it just because, and it's probably because I've grown up now with Metroid Prime. There was the series, and then all like the spin-offs and everything, and now this new one. But it's just weird to think that before Metroid Prime, it was almost a dead franchise.
Yeah, Well, what's funny about it is like you look at even before the wait for Metroid Prime, you look at the gaps between the releases of those 3 games, and it's like Metroid 1 comes out in 1986, Metroid 2 comes out in 1991. There was a 5-year gap between those 2 games, which during that particular era where they were just pumping games out is like a pretty long wait. I mean, it's a reason why Metroid 2 is called Metroid 2 Return of Samus, because it had been a while since Samus had returned at that point in time.
Gotta come back real quick. She left for a minute.
Exactly. Even when they Super Metroid followed not too long after Metroid 2. Super Metroid came out in 1994, and I believe Yoshio Sakamoto, who's like a producer on a lot of the 2D Metroid games, was quoted at the time as saying like, yeah, we didn't want to bring the Metroid series back until we felt like we had a really great kind of concept of how to take the series forward, which is an MO with, I mean, a lot of Nintendo games, unless that particular series is Mario or Zelda, and it's just a moneymaker, which is indicative of the fact that Metroid is not a moneymaker. But, well, you can't have it all. Let's talk a little bit about Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. This is the sequel to Metroid Prime 1 that released in November of 2004. It was also developed by Retro Studios. Metroid Prime 2 Echoes tends to get a little bit of flack within the Metroid community, but its stature within the community, people's impressions of it have definitely improved over time. The whole deal with Metroid Prime 2, for those who have never played it, is Samus travels to a new planet called Aether, which has an alternate dimension, Dark Aether, which at various times in various parts of the land subsumes the normal light version of Aether. Kind of like a light world and a dark world in ye olde Legend of Zelda franchise. And personally, like, my opinion on Metroid Prime 2 is I think the reason why a lot of people are kind of a little mixed on it is because, so like, when an indie game like Guacamelee features a light world, dark world system, it's cute. Look at that. The indie game is featuring the light world, dark world mechanic that is prevalent across so many of the Zelda games. Look at the indie game dev go. But when another Nintendo franchise features that same kind of mechanic, and that Nintendo franchise is not a Zelda game, it almost feels a little incestuous. It's like, that's kind of Zelda's thing. Why are you going and aping its style? You gotta do that? Why you gotta do that? All that said, even though I don't think that that was necessarily the best call to make Metroid Prime 2, Metroid Prime 2 benefits significantly from just great level design that I think is actually much improved over the original Metroid Prime. Still, fantastic art direction across both light and dark worlds. Another great soundtrack. Some fantastic boss design. There's one boss late into the game called Quadraxis, which is a giant robot that, like, as you fight it, continuously sheds more and more parts of itself until at the end you're just fighting its like dome-like brain at the end. Fantastic stuff. And I think overall, in spite of those issues, manages to be just a really solid sequel. Metroid Prime 2 also shipped with a local multiplayer mode in which 4 players could compete against each other in deathmatch-y style modes. It was very much a side course, a sideshow to the main game. It wasn't online. It was never intending to be a Halo competitor, but it would serve as a bit of a premonition of things to come with a little game called Metroid Prime Hunter's First Hunt. Did either of you play this game by any chance?
No.
So I only asked that because Metroid Prime Hunter's First Hunt was basically a prelude / teaser / demo for Metroid Prime Hunters, the 2006 multiplayer DS Metroid game that shipped with the original DS Fat when it first released in November of 2004. You know, the Nintendo 64, you think about that console as launching with Mario 64. You think about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild launching with the Switch. Your launch game, your first-party Nintendo launch game on the original DS, your pack-in title was Metroid Prime Hunter's First Hunt. Certainly an interesting choice, to say the least. This was actually... Metroid Prime 3 was the first game in the series that I properly played and beat. Metroid Prime Hunter's First Hunt was actually the first brush that I had with the series, period. I got this when I got my DS Fat in 2004, and I played a little bit of it and ultimately lost it and didn't really come back to it for quite some time. But I thought it was interesting, novel, nifty, not novel enough to immediately get the kind of full game that it was teasing until quite a few years later. That game being Metroid Prime Hunters, which released on March of 2006 for the original DS. This game was developed by Nintendo Software Technology, abbreviated as NST, which is another US-based studio that is actually located inside of Nintendo's headquarters.
That's on me.
Located inside Nintendo's headquarters in Redmond, Washington. Some of the other games developed by Nintendo Software Technology, NST, include Pokemon Puzzle League. They developed Ridge Racer 64. Ridge Racer.
You guys remember that one, right?
Yeah, I do.
Ridge Racer!
Kinda. They basically have developed all of the Mario vs. Donkey Kong games, starting with the original Game Boy Advance up until the modern era. They also worked on, most recently, F-Zero 99, a very good game, a game that I greatly enjoyed. And they also worked on, this is a blast from the past, they worked on Project Hammer, the canceled Wii game, where you wielded a hammer. That we never saw the light of day. I wish they could bring that game back in some way.
Project Hammer. This game. Look at this shit. Okay, that's 2 seconds long. What the fuck are you doing?
Look at that beautiful hammer. Just that
57 seconds.
I'm not actually watching the stream right now, so I don't know what's being shown on stream.
It's glorious is what this is.
Project Hammer and HAMMER.
Is an acronym.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
H.A.M.M.E.R.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure the big thing, because it was a Wii game, it was just you were using a hammer, waving the Wii thing.
Yeah.
That was the big thing.
Yeah, there's a whole complicated story of what happened with this game. It's a little bit sad because it actually put Nintendo Software Technology in the doghouse for a little while. They didn't get to work on a lot of important projects because this game didn't do very well. But getting back to Metroid Prime Hunters, so the whole deal with Metroid Prime Hunters, it was a primarily multiplayer-focused Metroid Prime game that kind of had a single-player campaign tacked on, not necessarily as an afterthought, but very much as a sideshow to the multiplayer component, very much the kind of inverse of what happened with Metroid Prime 2. This particular game actually was the first game in the franchise to introduce a bunch of other rival bounty hunters to Samus Aran's sort of like virtuous bounty hunter persona. You had characters like Stylix, Nox,
IG-88, Cad Bane.
I gotta be honest, I don't really remember a whole lot of their names because they have cool designs, but I wouldn't claim that their names are all that memorable. Anyways,
I'm just naming Star Wars ones that MC Chris has made songs about.
So yeah, the main feature in this game was the multiplayer mode, which pitted Samus Aran against these other bounty hunters in all sorts of deathmatchy style modes. But of course, it also had a single-player component. The single-player component basically was Samus going to a new star system, visiting a bunch of different planets, which actually was kind of a new thing in the series at that point in time. Most Metroid games up until this point in time tended to feature Samus exploring a single planet. This one actually took her on kind of a planet-hopping adventure, and she would occasionally cross paths with some of these other bounty hunters, occasionally get into skirmishes and fights with them, all while trying to pursue a bunch of ancient artifacts to unlock an ancient prison / treasure trove. It's a little complicated. I can't claim that I fully understood the ending of this one. This game's definitely one of the weaker games in the Metroid franchise if we're purely evaluating it on its single-player component. Because of the limitations of the DS's software, hardware, they weren't able to make it a fully kind of interconnected Metroidvania world. And so they instead opted to making this game more akin to something like a Mario 64 or a Banjo-Kazooie, where you have a bunch of like separated, segmented worlds that you have to travel to repeatedly multiple times. And each time you travel to them, you will unlock various features in other worlds. And so you're incentivized to kind of go back to each world multiple times in that fashion. It's not a particularly good example of that kind of game either, for that matter, or just a Metroidvania game to begin with. The more time has passed since I last played this game, though, I've really come to kind of appreciate what this game is going for. I think that Nintendo Software Technology was definitely dealt a tough hand having to kind of translate the Metroid Prime series for the DS, but I thought they did a really good job of translating it into 3D. Running around and jumping in first person feels as good in this game as it does in the Prime Metroid Prime games. And so I do want to give them kudos in that regard. Now, we got to talk about Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, but before we talk about Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, I skimmed over it earlier, so we got to talk about this game first. Metroid Prime Pinball, which of course was released in October of 2005. Definitely the most irrelevant and unimportant of all the Metroid games, but definitely a game that I want to talk about for just a moment.
I'd say, how dare you, irrelevant. Look at this.
I played this game for the first time in October of 2005 as developed by Fuse Games, which later rebranded itself as Silverball Interactive, which is a now defunct studio best known for making other pinball games, such as the 2004 game Mario Pinball Land for the GBA.
Really
Metroid
weird
Prime
if a
Pinball.
company called Silverball Studios was making anything but pinball games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like, what else could it be making?
Strictly about killing werewolves. Like, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a game that, you know, for years, I'd heard people speak very highly of, and I'd always been a little bit suspect of it, because I'm like, I know that, you know, Metroid Prime fans, Metro fans in general, you know, tend to be very enthusiastic about the series, and it's like, are you being really enthusiastic about Metroid Prime Pinball because it's actually a really great game? Or is it the kind of like Metroid lizard part of your brain that's really trying to prop it up greater than it actually deserves to be propped up? And I played this game for the first time just this past year, and I was very impressed with it. I actually think it is genuinely as great as people say it is. I think that this game does a great job of adapting the quote-unquote story of Metroid Prime 1 into pinball form, with all sorts of power-ups and upgrades and collectibles, and even the occasional minigame in which you get to control Samus Aran directly and have her shoot at enemies that are on the screen, even a couple of sequences in which Samus Aran does some like wall jumping to collect artifacts. You collect enough of those artifacts, and the game will actually gradually switch stages and, in a very roundabout fashion, take you through the story of the original Metroid Prime 1, concluding with you fighting the titular Metroid Prime enemy, the final boss of the game, in the impact crater from the end of that game. I was really impressed with this game. I think that if any of y'all out there ever get a chance to play this game, definitely take that opportunity. Unfortunately, unlike Metroid Prime Hunters, this game was never re-released on the Wii U. It's one of those games that, like, to date has never, you know, been made available again outside of its original DS release from way back in the day. So, a little tough to come by. Tends to ask a pretty pity penny. Meant to say just pretty penny, but somehow I added another word in there. I don't know why.
I liked where you went with it.
Pretty penny. But yeah, definitely check it out. Even if you're not good at pinball, I don't particularly care for pinball games, but I surprised myself with how much I ended up enjoying this game and how much I found my pinball skills improving over time the more and more I played of it.
Now, how does this game compare to the greatest pinball game of all time, Sonic Spinball?
Never played Sonic Spinball.
Piece of shit.
I'd imagine that this game is probably better.
Kozi, you son of a bitch.
This game came with, I didn't even play it with this, but this game came with a Rumble Pack for the DS that you would stick in the GBA slot.
I fucking
that would give you Rumble functionality.
The Rumble Pack on the.
As far as I can tell,
yeah.
I don't believe that Sonic Spinball ever came with any sort of Rumble pack. So I think
no,
that
because it was made for a real home console. Okay, not a little baby DS.
Wow.
Okay. Let's talk about the next Prime Metroid Prime game, Metroid Prime 3: Corruption. This game released in August of 2007 and concluded the Metroid Prime trilogy. It was, as I stated earlier, the first Metroid game that I consciously purchased and beat, and then I went back through the rest of the series from there. Metroid community is not as perhaps enthusiastic about Metroid Prime 3 as they are of 1 or 2 because it kind of gave to a more linear structure. Its gameplay leans into being a lot more shootery. The kind of core premise of Metroid Prime 3 is that Samus Aran is infected with this mysterious mutagenic substance called Phazon, which gives her the ability to go into a kind of hyper mode that greatly enhances her shooting capabilities and allows her to just mow down enemies with reckless and wanton destruction. But all that said, I love Metroid Prime 3. And I love Metroid Prime 3 because I think it is such a great compromise between a lot of things that feel a little incongruous to fans of the Metroid series that I think that 3 actually kind of manages to kind of reconcile. Things like, for example, injecting the series with, as was stated, more action-y or shootery elements, but still keeping it very much a true-to-form Metroidvania game, keeping a lot of that item-gating, puzzle-solving gameplay that a lot of the prior games in the series were known for, and also giving the game a much grander scope than previous entries, but still keeping much of the game an intimate adventure about Samus Aran exploring the wilderness by her lonesome. Like Metroid Prime Hunters before it, Metroid Prime 3 opts for a planet-hopping adventure where you get to explore multiple planets on the road to defeating an alien menace once and for all. And yeah, what you lose in having a single interconnected planet, I think you gain in terms of having a just much grander scope to play around with. Oh,
right here at the end. Oh. This is a Reaper. I played Mass Effect. That's a fucking Reaper.
Metroid Prime. Well, it's funny. I never really kind of directly compared them. Metroid Prime 3 released in 2007, the same year as Mass Effect 1. So, I mean, I don't really know if one particular franchise ripped off the other in this particular case. It could be, it could very well be a Pokemon, Digimon thing where both kind of came into their own at the exact same time. And
it's just a giant fucking ship that kind of looks like a shrimp. That's,
I definitely appreciate the comparison. I don't know that there's any plagiarism at play here. I think it is just a weird coincidence.
Yeah.
Check that out, Samus Aran heading directly into the field of fire.
I really like Mass Effect.
Also, as you're probably seeing from the trailer right now, another big thing that Metroid Prime 3 introduced is actually bringing voice acting into the series. Samus Aran herself in this particular game wasn't voiced, but
Nintendo,
all of her companion characters...
Game Freak,
and
take fucking notes. Voice acting.
Game Freak, please.
You pieces of shit.
You gotta do it.
I can't wait to play Zeta A today when this comes out. But I'm not going to because we're playing Fallout 76, so tomorrow.
The subject of voice acting within the Metroid series as a whole is very contentious because a couple years after that we got Metroid Other M, which was a very contentious game within the franchise. A lot of people did not particularly love that game's implementation.
Isn't that,
it's complicated.
Like a remake of 2?
It's complicated. Let me just get through Metroid Prime 3 and we can have a brief sidebar about Other M. People did not particularly love the way in which voice acting was implemented in Metroid Other M, but the voice acting as it was implemented in Metroid Prime 3 was actually very solid. There it is. There's the Reaper. The not Reaper. Might have ripped off the Reaper.
Not
the
to
Reaper
jump
ripped off
which one came out first, 3 Prime or Other M?
Well, you got Metroid Prime 1, 2, 3, Other M.
Okay, so it was after Prime 3.
Yes.
Okay, because you were saying that in Other M people didn't like it, but it was done better in Prime 3, so I wasn't sure which one came out first.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Metroid Prime 3 came out first.
Oh, so they did it well, and then they fucked it up. Got it.
Well, it's complicated. Anyways, but so yeah, I want to just say real quick. So Metroid Prime 3, of course, came out on the Wii. Metroid Prime 1 and 2 came out on the GameCube. Prime 3 features, honestly, some of the best motion controls of any major first-party game, or just any game in general on the Wii. I still go back to this game as like the prime example. I'm not even trying to make the pun of like how to like implement motion controls in a way that
intend your puns.
Degrade the experience in question.
Intend your puns.
Hell yeah. I'm just gonna use Prime as much as I possibly can for the rest of this podcast. So yeah, just
Prime in the
a really great game all around. I'm certainly definitely unorthodox in stating that this game is my favorite game in the franchise, but for the reasons listed, I think that this game really genuinely is at the top of the heap. And so yeah, have a tremendous amount of love for it. And my love for it would only grow deeper a couple years later when we saw the release of Metroid Prime Trilogy, which released on the Wii in August of 2009. A Metroid Prime Trilogy basically repackaged all three of the mainline Metroid Prime games, 1, 2, and 3, for the Wii with a couple of refinements and enhancements. One of the big ones being the implementation of motion controls for Metroid Prime 1 and 2, which worked out fantastically. Improved load times, rebalanced difficulty, particularly for Metroid Prime 2, which at the time it's released back on the GameCube was criticized for having particularly difficult boss segments, and just a whole host of other improvements and refinements. Metroid Prime Trilogy, unfortunately, did not sell particularly well, but it was an incredible value and is in conversation for being like among the 3 best Wii games, if not the single best Wii game. If you were someone back during the Wii era who did not pick up Metroid Prime Trilogy, you were just I'm just going to say it right now, a prime idiot. You thought I was going to say fucking idiot, but we got to prime it.
Got it.
Yeah, but now that we're recording this, I'm going to edit it back to make you say fucking idiot, and then you're going to be like, you thought I was going to say fucking idiot. And then you're going to be like, but that's what he did say. He's silly.
No,
He's a silly Canadian.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
You fucked yourself.
Yeah, I really am a silly Canadian. You know, I
recently
celebrated... Like an actual Canadian, I actually recently celebrated Canadian Thanksgiving.
Yes, you did.
We had a whole turkey, cranberry sauce, and everything. It was yesterday, although we actually had our Canadian Thanksgiving dinner the day before on Sunday.
Yeah,
because it was more convenient for us to do so.
I was in our friend Charisma. I was in his chat on Sunday, and he streamed super early on Sunday because they were doing their dinner Sunday night, and then he was talking like some other people in chat who were like, "Yeah, we did ours last night, so today we're just kind of chilling." So yeah, ours is always on a Thursday, which makes it fucking awesome for shopping the next day.
Yeah, and I should mention, Metroid Prime Trilogy came in a really cool steel case. Any video game is made automatically better by coming in a steel case, and that definitely was true in this particular game's case. Actually, that's not true, because the game was already perfect, and then it also conveniently came in a steel
but now
cool steel case
it was perfect
as well.
before, but now it has the other Metroid Prime games.
Exactly.
And that depends on which one you bought it for. It has the other 2 Metroid Prime games.
So, Metroid Prime 3 comes out in 2007. Metroid Prime Trilogy comes out in 2009. Metroid Prime... hold on a sec. I've just gotten too many cobwebs in my brain. Let me reset. Okay, I'm reset. So Metroid Prime Trilogy comes out. Nope. Don't mess me up. Metroid Prime Trilogy comes out in 2009. 2010, we get Metroid Other M, which is not part of the lineage of Metroid Prime games, but you asked about it, so I'll do a quick little sidebar on this game. So, the thing about Metroid Other M is it's best to think of it not... Even though Metroid Other M was a 3D game, it's best to think of it more as being part of the lineage of the 2D games, because it was primarily developed in Japan via a joint collaboration between Team Ninja and a lot of the people that previously were responsible for the 2D Metroid games. Metroid Other M, I have complicated feelings about this game. I don't want to go too deep down the rabbit hole on this game because I have a lot to say. The long and short of it is Metroid Other M is a game that makes a lot of bad decisions, and I also think is slightly underrated in a lot of aspects, and those ways in which it is underrated don't make up for its bad decisions, but I do think that there is a lot to be said about this game.
Kozi?
A lot of people have, yes.
Go crazy on this one.
I I want to go crazy, but like I don't want to talk more. The thing is I don't want to talk more about Metroid Other M than the Prime games themselves, than the name of the particular Metroid subseries that's emblazoned on the name of this podcast. So I'm going to try to keep things short and sweet. So like,
no, hold on.
Yes.
No.
What?
There's no Lyle Smithsonian.
The
What?
fuck?
What the fuck kind of name is this?
What's going on?
So I'm pulling up the trailers as we're talking about the games, and it's a trailer
Oh,
for Metroid
you're
Prime
talking
Other
about the
M, and there's a
characters.
character called Lyle Smithsonian.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck yourself,
I don't really
Nintendo.
remember those guys. That's fine. Compared to some of the other issues in that game, that's not that big a deal. Okay. So, like, all right. So, the way through which Metroid Other M can be understood is basically, back in the day, Yoshio Sakamoto, who's like a producer on a lot of the 2D Metroid games, the director of Super Metroid, the director of Metroid Fusion, a producer on most of the games of this particular ilk, worked on a series of games for the NES called Famicom Detective Club. You probably know about this particular series because, yes.
You were
everything good
momentarily. Yeah, you're good though. The sound didn't cut out, but your video just froze. But we're good.
Got it. The Famicom Detective Club series, you might know of this particular series because the first two games in this particular series were recently remade for the Switch, and just last year we got the third game in the series, the first new game in the series in quite some time, called Emio the Smiling Man. Metroid Other M was basically Yoshio Sakamoto, the longtime director/producer of the 2D Metroid games, basically going, man, it's been a really long time since I last had the opportunity to make a Famicom Detective Club game, and I really want to make a new one, but there's no way that Nintendo will let me make a new one. Could I make a new one within the, like, structure, within the bones of a Metroid game? And so you have this experimental, like, half 2D, half 3D hybrid Metroid game with first-person aiming segments in which Samus Aran is sent to a derelict spaceship to solve a mystery in the vein of the Famicom Detective Club games. But again, this game has no connection to that particular series. It's just weirdly built out of the mold of that particular series, but it's a Metroid game. And there are a lot of not great narrative choices that are made. There are also some interesting things that are explored that are perhaps not fleshed out as well as they could be fleshed out. This game is sort of infamous, has the infamous reputation that it has on the internet because, so there's this whole thing in the game where Samus Aran reunites with her former commanding officer from her time in the Galactic
Lyle
Federation military. Not him, no. This guy's name is Adam Malkovich. That's his name. Good, better or worse than Lyle Smithsonian?
I'm not even sure, honestly.
Anyways, and so like basically what happens is this dude, Adam Malkovich, is like, we're on our own mission independently investigating what happened on this particular derelict ship that's out in space, and Samus Aran decides, out of respect for this, former CO of hers, to deliberately kind of restrict what weapons she allows herself to use while on the ship until he kind of gives the authorization to use said weapons. And a lot of people justifiably didn't really like this because it's sort of like, Samus Aran, we kind of perceive her as being a strong, independent woman. She's one of the more preeminent examples of that within the video game industry, and it feels like you're really taking away a lot of her autonomy in making this decision and really kind of degrading what we think of her as a character. And it's frustrating because it's one of those things where, like, I can totally imagine how this particular decision was made during the development of Other M. I can totally imagine a bunch of Japanese Nintendo executives sitting together in a room and being like, all right, got to crack the story for this game. We got to figure out what Metroid Other M is going to be about. And someone raises their hand and is like, hey, there's a bit of a problem with the Metroid series. And that problem is that at the beginning of every single Metroid game, we have to establish why Samus Aran can't use her abilities from prior games in the series right up front. We have to explain why Samus Aran loses her Ice Beam, why she loses her Morph Ball, why she loses all these fancy schmancy abilities and has to start from zero. And then someone else raised their hand and was like, yo, I got an idea. What if Samus Aran has all her abilities at the beginning of the game, but she deliberately chooses not to use them? And then someone else raised their hand and was like, yo, we have this one character that we want to implement in this game, this Commander Adam Malkovich character, who's Samus Aran's former CEO. What if Samus agrees not to use her weapons, her inventory of items at her disposal, out of respect for this one character? And they all high-fived and were like, great idea. And it's like, I can see how, in that moment, in an entirely isolated chamber, not thinking about the way that this sort of thing might be perceived, they might think, oh, this is a very clever idea. But ultimately, it's a great example about how sometimes it's better to be cheesy than to try too hard to be clever. If Metroid Other M started with Samus Aran getting punched into the wall by a monster, her suit malfunctioned, and uh-oh, you don't have access to any of your old abilities again, you gotta find new ones, we would all collectively groan, but we'd all be 1,000% more cool with that than the direction that they ended up going in. You know, when people talk about the need for diversity, equity, and inclusion in video game development studios, the miscreants of the internet come out of the woodwork and are often like, well, why should we hire more diverse people to work at our studios? Shouldn't it all just be a meritocracy? Shouldn't we all just hire people based on their, ability to develop games? And it's like, to me, Metroid Other M is a great example of why diversity, inclusion, these sorts of things are really important in game development in every industry. Because, I'm sure that everybody that was sitting in that room that made the decision to have Samus Aran restrict her abilities based on this character called Adam Malkovich was an incredibly qualified person. Yoshio Sakamoto, the director of Super Metroid, an incredibly qualified person, but there was no one in the room, there was no female voice in the room to raise their hand and be like, yo, you think that this is a good idea, but it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Anyways, rant over. Metroid Other M makes a lot of bad calls. It does also, at the same time, play around with some interesting stuff. One of the more interesting threads that Metroid Other M pulls on that it doesn't fully take advantage of as much as it should, but that I do appreciate to a degree, is it really plays around with Samus Aran suffering from PTSD and depression over the events of the prior games in the series, where we find Samus Aran at the beginning of Other M. She just, saw to the destruction of Mother Brain at the end of Super Metroid. The galaxy is finally at peace. Mother Brain and all the space pirates are finally destroyed once and for good. The baby Metroid that she cared for and sought after throughout the entirety of Super Metroid is now dead. Dunzo. Zebes, her adopted home planet, is dead. Dunzo. And Samus Aran is just adrift at space, no particular direction in her life, not knowing where her future is going to lead her. And I find that to be a very compelling setup that, again, I don't think that Other M fully capitalizes on, but I do appreciate aspects of what they were trying to go for in that regard. Anyways, that was my quick 30 minutes / hour on Metroid Other M. Shall we get back to the Prime games? All right.
So we jumping into Prime 4?
I would love to jump directly into Prime 4, but we cannot jump into Prime 4. But because before that, we got to talk about 2016's Metroid Prime Federation Force, the most recently released Metroid Prime game that came out technically over a decade ago. Man, time is certainly a monster. So this game was developed by Next Level Games, which is the studio responsible for titles like the Luigi's Mansion series, particularly Luigi's Mansion 2 and 3. I don't know if they made the remake of the game for the remake of Luigi's Mansion 1 for the 3DS. I might be mistaken on that. Anyways, it was also, though, overseen by Kensuke Tanabe, who is a producer who also worked alongside Retro Studios on the other main Prime games. I feel bad ragging on this game because I have a lot of respect for Next Level Games, the prior titles that they've worked on. But, man, Metroid Prime Federation Force, this game I
Kozi cutting out.
played this game relatively recently ahead of the release of Metroid Prime 4. Uh-oh. What-oh.
Yeah, I'm not.
Can you hear me?
Might be something
Can
on
you?
my end. Hold on.
Oh, now you guys are starting to sound a little weird on my end.
We sounding weird, Mike?
We're sounding all right.
Testing.
There it is.
Do I sound good?
You sound
good?
good.
I
Yeah.
sound good?
Yeah.
There we go.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, let's try and speed through here. Perhaps the shittiness of Metroid Prime Federation Force is infecting our call. Metroid Prime Federation Force, conceptually, is so weird. The whole thing with this game is you don't play as Samus Aran in this game. Instead, you play as a bunch of troopers within the Galactic Federation that have acquired these giant mech suits, and occasionally you interact with Samus Aran throughout this game's campaign. Speaking of which, this game's campaign is not a typical Metroidvania campaign. Instead, it's a series of mission-based levels. Right off the bat, not particularly great, but it gets worse. Like I said, conceptually, weird that you're playing as the Galactic Federation troopers and not Samus Aran herself. But what's even more kind of disappointing about it, from my perspective, is that, the one advantage that you have going for you, if you're going to make a Metroid game where you're not playing as Samus Aran, if you're not playing from her perspective, is that you have an opportunity to show the universe of Metroid from someone else's viewpoint. See how it is that they perceive things. Perhaps they have an entirely different perspective on Samus Aran's heroic exploits. But instead, you don't get that opportunity in this game because the characters that you play as are all just nameless Marines. It's weirdly an awful lot like I was reminded a lot playing through this game of the multiplayer mode in the Luigi's Mansion games, also made by Next Level Games, and that in that particular multiplayer mode, it's just like a bunch of multicolored Luigis. They could have very easily had you playing as a bunch of other denizens from the Mushroom Kingdom, but instead they're like, no, just Luigi, all multicolored. That's as much personality as you're going to get. Same thing here. It's like you had the opportunity to really show us a different perspective on things, but they don't take advantage of that at all. Levels in this game are just particularly unbalanced if you're playing it in single player. You can really tell that the game was built around completing them with multiple people in mind, even though the game does technically give you an item that boosts your capabilities if you're playing by yourself. Even played with a group of people, however, a lot of the levels in this game just don't feel particularly evocative of the overall kind of epic, moody atmosphere of the Metroid series. There are a lot of levels where it's like, oh, you got to push this trolley from one end to the other end of this particular devastated, just weird-ass valley. There's another level where it's like, you got to herd these giant ice monsters into cages. And it's like, what? This is 3D platformer collectathon side quest bullshit. This is not what I come to the Metroid series for. Final few levels do ramp up and deliver that exciting Metroid experience that you want, but it only makes you wish that the rest of the game was like this. I would say that by far, though, the worst aspect of Metroid Prime Federation Force is the control scheme. You have either the option to control your camera with the little 3DS nub, if you have the new version of the 3DS with the nub, or with the 3DS's gyro control. The gyro control is the better of the two options, and it's still not great because you constantly have to be moving your 3DS at weird angles while playing it to properly aim at anything, which, especially if you're playing it on a train or in an environment where you don't have a lot of mobility, really sucks. It's not great. Also, I'm someone that really loves the 3D effect on the 3DS. I played as many games as I could back in the day with the 3D effect on because I really appreciated what Nintendo was able to achieve with it. And this is a game that you absolutely cannot play with the 3D effect on because, again, you constantly have to move this damn thing around.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, not a great game. Also, side note, to me, something that's so appealing about mech fiction movies about mechs, TV shows about mechs, is just the scale of it all, of, being in or witnessing a giant mech roam across a landscape and just seeing how enormous it is compared to everything else around it. One of the small little mistakes that this game makes is it reveals early on that the space pirates that you're fighting in this game have harnessed some sort of technology that makes it so that they can enlarge anything in their environment. And so all the enemies that you're battling in this game are enlarged versions of themselves. And it's like, well, I'm not appreciating the scale of this. I would appreciate the scale of this so much more if a lot of the enemies I was crushing underfoot, but you never get that opportunity because everything is scaled to your size, which defeats the purpose of you playing as a giant mech.
That's true.
So yeah, it's not very great. It's not very great.
Mike is a big mech guy. He's the Gundam.
The Gundam.
And the mech warrior, if you will.
The mech warrior.
And the armored core.
The armored core. I don't know why I'm repeating these names.
Neither do I. But he's the armored core of this podcast.
Oh yeah.
Without him, I can't fly. I don't know.
Metroid Prime Federation Force was definitely not a great swerve for the series. But after that, things picked up a little bit because in February of 2023, we got Metroid Prime Remastered, which we talked about briefly just a little bit earlier. This game was shadow dropped towards the end of a Nintendo Direct that aired in the month of that particular year. And man, this was what a great little remaster this particular game was. Nintendo could have taken the route with this particular game of just delivering a very bog standard remastered version that slightly updated a couple of the textures, slightly modernized the controls, and kind of left things be. But Retro Studios really went in and gave this game a ton of TLC. Didn't really touch the design of the game all that much, which I feel a little mixed about in a couple of areas, because there are definitely, playing this game in 2023 definitely exposed the fact that there are a few aspects of this game that definitely feel a little dated in the modern era. But conversely, playing this game in 2023 also made me appreciate just how forward-thinking and modern the game still feels, even in the modern era, all the same. This remaster just did a great job of touching up on the experience and making it feel and look like as modern as you would hope a Nintendo Switch game would feel in the year 2023. Just a fantastic time in that regard. Really, really, really enjoyed getting to kind of go back and re-experience Metroid Prime 1 in this fashion. Which brings us to Metroid Prime 4, the topic of this particular episode that we're only getting to like an hour or so in at this point.
Oh, the topic of this episode is Metroid Prime.
That's true. That's true. Now,
let's see here. Hold on. I want to find... Where's the original one? Is that 2017?
2017, correct. So the whole thing with this game... And hold on. Before we even talk about this game and the long and arduous road to its release, I do want to say something right up front. As you guys know, I co-host the Respawning Fire podcast. And throughout much of my time on the Respawning Fire podcast, I've talked a lot about the Metroid series, the Metroid Prime series, my hopes and dreams for Metroid Prime 4, because this game has basically been in development for as long as I have been podcasting, even longer so. A couple of weeks ago on Respawning Fire episode 407, we talked a fair bit about the most recent Metroid Prime trailer that was released as part of the most recent September Nintendo Direct. And myself and my other co-hosts were all pretty mixed about it, and it ended up being kind of the main topic of that particular episode. We titled the episode, "We're Worried About Metroid Prime 4, ... And I want to say up front that my criticisms of that particular trailer, I still stand by.
I'm pointing to the corner because I'm going to try to remember to put the little YouTube card to the episode.
Look at that. Mr. Hawks thinking ahead. I stand by the criticisms that I had of that particular trailer and of the other trailers for this game on that particular episode. I think that all things considered, when all is said and done, there's still a lot of reason to be hopeful for Metroid Prime 4. I don't think that there is a universe in which Metroid Prime 4 will be a bad game. Will it be a fantastic 10 out of 10 game? That's another discussion to be had. But I think that there is reason to really believe in Retro Studios and really believe in their ability to deliver a fantastic experience with this game, despite all the hurdles that it's been through over the course of the years leading up to its release. So yeah, going back a couple of pegs, this game was originally announced all the way back at E3 2017. This was the E3 that happened shortly after the release of the Nintendo Switch. And looking back on this announcement in retrospect, it really does feel like had the Switch not had as fantastic of a launch as it did, we probably would have never gotten this trailer. Clearly, this game was not particularly ready at this point in time. We now know that behind the scenes things are not going great, but I feel like Nintendo felt very hopeful because of how good the launch of the Nintendo Switch was, and it felt like they were like, we really need to kind of juice things now while the iron's hot. Let's announce Metroid Prime 4 and get people really excited and jazzed for the console's, already pretty good future. Officially, this particular piece of information was never confirmed, but it's basically known that this particular iteration of Metroid Prime 4 was being at least co-developed by Bandai Namco. I think possibly the branch of Bandai Namco that was located in Singapore. Again, this was never officially unveiled by Nintendo or anyone connected to the game because this information was never officially made public. Because in January of 2019, in a very solemn video message, I think it was, I forget who it was, but one of the bigwig executives at Nintendo came in front of a camera and was like, hey, guess what? The version of Metroid Prime 4 that was being developed by this one studio that we're not going to say the name of was not coming together. It was below expectations, and so we have made the decision not to cancel it, but to reboot the game with Retro Studios.
It's the video that's on screen right now.
Yes. So it was definitely, it was an interesting moment because at that point in time, 2019, it had been 5 years since Retro Studios had last worked on a major, well, no, let me rephrase that. They had been working on various projects over the course of the kind of years, but they had not released a game since Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze in 2014. Many people had been wondering what Retro Studios was going to do next, if they were going to release anything else for the Wii U, if they were going to release anything else for the Switch. We now know, based on some leaks that happened a couple of months ago earlier in the year, that they were working on a rhythm action game that, to my knowledge, never had like an official working name or title. Supposedly,
Project Hammer 2.
What I've heard, based on where am I? I've lost my train of thought. This is what happens when you talk too much about Metroid games. It gets in your brain. It infects you. What I've read in the past is that apparently
was doing a rhythm game.
Yes, apparently, supposedly, what I've heard from podcasters that I ascribe to in the past is that apparently they had intention to show the game off at a E3 presentation, and it got pulled at the last minute because it just wasn't coming together. Anyways, things were in a bit of a weird funk for Retro Studios at the time.
Notes on that.
Things were in a bit of a weird funk for Retro Studios at the time. But nonetheless, they got announced as the new studio behind the rebooted version of Metroid Prime 4. And thus began a incredibly, incredibly long period of waiting before we finally got our first trailer for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond.
But when did Dread come out?
Right. So Metroid Dread came out in 2021. And that game, let me tell you, I mean, again, we don't have the bandwidth to go full bore into every single other Metroid game in the kind of franchise. But that game, I mean, the lead up to that game was really interesting because prior to that, Mercury Steam, which was the developer on that game, they collaborated with Nintendo on its development, had previously released Metroid Samus Returns, which is the remake of Metroid 2 for the 3DS.
Okay, that's the one I was thinking of. I was confusing that one in my head with Other M.
That game, Metroid Samus Returns, came out in 2017. The way in which that game was announced was really weird because Nintendo revealed Metroid Prime 4 at E3 2017 in their main presentation showcase. And then in their Nintendo Treehouse livestream after their main presentation, they announced, oh hey, we also have been working on this other 2D Metroid game for the 3DS that actually is coming out in a span of a couple of months from now. And that ended up being Metroid 2 Samus Returns, the remake of Metroid 2 Return of Samus from way back in the day. I thought that game was fine. I thought it was lacking in a little bit of the sauce, but it's because of their work on that game that Mercury Steam was given the lease to eventually work on Metroid Dread, which is a game that originally began development all the way back in the mid-2000s as a game for the original DS, got canceled because seemingly they weren't able to properly set up some of the kind of core concepts of that game with the technology that was available at their disposal on the original DS. Mercury Steam got the lease to kind of like properly work on that game again and release that game in 2021. So that definitely, if Metroid Samus Returns kind of lit the spark to bring the series back from the kind of doldrums of Metroid Prime Federation Force, Metroid Dread definitely poured a whole lot of gasoline on that spark, because that game obviously reviewed tremendously well, and to date is, I believe, the best-selling Metroid game, although it is still a little bit low by the standards of a lot of Nintendo's other big mainline first-party games. The timeline is Metroid
4.
Yeah, so the timeline is Metroid Dread comes out in 2021. 2023 is Metroid Prime 1 Remastered.
Yep.
And then 2024 is when we finally get our first trailer for Metroid Prime 4. This was in the summer of 2024. It was in a direct that showcased a whole bunch of other great-looking Nintendo games.
And this was before they announced the Switch 2, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And I think a lot of people were watching this and they're like, this isn't a fucking Switch game.
Right. And as it turns out, they were both right and wrong. This was for the Switch 2, but it is also coming out on the Switch 1. Very curious to see how it runs on the Switch 1. Maybe. Retro Studios, back in the day, has always been a technical powerhouse. They were, great at getting the original set of Metroid Prime games to run really well on their respective consoles, and they did a great job compressing all three games down to one disc for Metroid Prime Trilogy on the Wii. It could end up running very solid on the original Switch.
Now, let me, you know what? Pizza bet or poutine bet. I don't know. You're Canadian. I don't know if you have pizza up there.
Pizza. Let's do pizza bet.
Okay,
it's less greasy.
Will Metroid Prime 4 Beyond run better on the Switch 1 than Pokemon Scarlet and Violet?
I'm going to say that it will run better than Scarlet and Violet because Retro Studios knows what they're doing more than Game Freak.
Fair.
It's true.
Okay. Pizza bet. Yeah,
it's true.
If it does, I will... I don't know what the fucking tariffs are on pizza.
We'll figure something out. You can send me a coupon. We'll do something with that.
Yeah. You guys have Little Caesars up there, right?
We do not. Yeah, actually, so fun fact about that, we don't have Little Caesars, but we do have a pizza chain native to Canada that's called Pizza Pizza, correct? No relationship with Little Caesars, it's just called Pizza Pizza.
I honestly, when I whatever, just reading, it was like, oh yeah, I went to Pizza Pizza or something. I was like, oh, I guess that's just Little Caesars in Canada. And they named it Pizza Pizza. Did not realize
we also have a pizza chain called Boston Pizza, which has nothing to do with Boston and was not founded in Boston.
Has nothing to do with Boston, and they sell hamburgers.
I don't know about that. They definitely sell pizza. Anyways, Metroid Prime 4. First teaser trailer for the game was revealed in the Nintendo Direct that aired in the summer of 2024. The teaser trailer was
that's
basically
the one we're watching now.
Pretty straightforward little kind of gameplay series of vignettes of Samus Aran making her way through a war-torn battlefield, battling a whole bunch of space pirates, and who's that at the end? Samus Aran comes face-to-face with Sylux. Do you remember Sylux? Sylux is one of the bounty hunters that Samus Aran battled in Metroid Prime Hunters for the DS. I said at the top of this podcast that one of those side tangential Metroid Prime games that's not part of the main Prime series was going to be important. Yes, that dude originally appeared in Metroid Prime Hunters on the DS, and he has come back for vengeance to make his voice heard and make the galaxy tremble before his grasp. I'm saying a lot of platitudes, but honestly, we don't know very much about him and what his motivations are, but you get the idea. I gotta be totally honest. From the onset, I was not actually super jazzed about this particular trailer. It's clear, looking back in retrospect, kind of like Retro Studios, it's clear that the kind of main purpose of this particular teaser trailer was to showcase, hey, it's been a while since you've heard about Metroid Prime 4, and we're here to show you that Metroid Prime 4 is an actual, real game. It's not concept art, it's not pre-rendered footage, it's an actual game and not vaporware. And so that's why the reveal trailer for Metroid Prime 4 is primarily a lot of gameplay cut up in a way that isn't necessarily particularly cinematic or exciting, but that very much showcases that it is real, R-E-A-L.
It's yes. I mean, you look at the beginning of this trailer here. She jumps out of her ship, and then it's like scanning a dead body, just kind of looking around. There's a couple shots, and there's scanning it. So it's very much a, hey, look at what these gameplay features that we had in the original Metroid Prime look like now, and this is happening. This is the most boring gameplay that we can show you to show you this is gameplay, not just, hey, here's this beautiful 3D trailer that's not gonna actually show you what this fucking game looks like at all.
Right.
But
exactly.
that ending showing the fucker coming back. That's and the elites here from Halo. It's weird that they brought them in.
Hell yeah. I mean, if Halo's not going to do anything nowadays, Metroid Prime will definitely pick up the mantle. So, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, in that regard, I ultimately respect what this particular trailer was going for. I do also think that they definitely could have cut together a more exciting trailer if they had tried a little bit more. But I can't be too upset about it.
I want to point something out here when this restarts. Okay, this is the end of it. So let's. So Cosmic Ear 20x9.
Yeah.
So we're saying that this game takes place within the next 80 years of our lifetime.
So I want you to know something. I'm very knowledgeable about a lot of things when it comes to the lore of the Metroid saga. I know fuck all about the naming scheme of the years in which the Metroid saga takes place. In fact, I don't even it taking place in 20x9. I was like, that genuinely doesn't mean anything to me. I couldn't, based on that particular set of information, situate this game based on how it takes place compared to the other games.
Okay.
So yeah, don't have much else to say about that. I kind of wish, not gonna lie, kind of wish that they had stuck with a real date. Kind of wish that they'd been 2153, but Nintendo's gonna Nintendo in that regard.
Drop the WMDs.
So that game, that trailer came and went, and then it would be over a year before we got our second trailer for this game, which we got in the Nintendo Direct that aired a week before the big Switch 2 blowout Direct. So, this particular trailer...
is this March 27th?
Yes, correct, because it was just a week before the Switch 2 thing. This particular trailer gave me extremely mixed feelings. It's funny, I was actually literally boarding a plane to go to Japan as the trailer was airing, and I remember managing successfully to get through the trailer just as we were about to take off and being like, ooh, I don't really know how I felt about that, but now I have to sit in a plane for 12 hours alone with my emotions, unable to talk to anyone else about it. So this trailer basically served as sort of a gameplay overview of what you can expect out of Metroid Prime 4. It showcased some of the new abilities that Samus Aran will have in this title, including psychic abilities that allow her to perform various feats. And what are those feats? Oh, things like opening doors, which the trailer emphasized in a really dramatic fashion that I myself and a lot of people were not particularly pleased with. The idea of Samus Aran, the protagonist of this game, having psychic powers that she can use to manipulate the environment around her and fight enemies with is a really exciting prospect, but the gameplay trailer that we got for this particular instance just didn't do a very good job of selling them in a way that made them seem particularly exciting. At the same time, in the same breath, the trailer in question features some fantastic music, absolutely excellent music. Some people were able to rip some of it without the voiceover narration, and it sounds absolutely superb. So that gets me really excited for what more music this game will have to offer. And visually, like, I would never put this game up there with some of the best that, you know, the video game industry has to offer right now, especially, you know, when it comes to the AAA scene on the PlayStation 4 or Xbox Series X. But the game looks really good. It looks nonetheless really, really good. And, you know, I can only imagine how nice it's going to pop on the Switch too. So
they showed 3 psychic abilities there. 2 of them were opening doors.
Yeah, that's
one of them though. Like the one that I was saying was cool. Was like she
I'm talking about.
Takes a shot and then you're like making it go through multiple enemies. I like that. That's pretty. Oh, there's a 3rd door opening.
The folks at Retro Studios are really creative. I'm confident. I'm extremely confident that you're going to have Samus Aran doing some wacky, wild, and cool stuff with her psychic abilities in this game.
Yeah.
I'm extremely confident of that. But it's one of those things where it's like, you didn't do a very good job of showcasing that. I understand.
To be fair, showing her using it to like just here's the hand opening a door is a very simple way to say she's doing this with her mind. You know, but there were 3 doors opening there. Yeah. And this Nintendo here's X from Mega Man X.
Oh yeah. Nintendo can be very weird and particular with the spoilers in this game. I remember with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, they were very particular about what they would and would not talk about with that particular game. And I would have to imagine that it's a very similar situation with this game, where they're like, yeah, we really don't want to talk about X, Y, and Z, and L, and R, and A, and Q, and P, and basically every single letter of the alphabet, because they just want players to discover these things for themselves. And I appreciate that. But I also know for a fact that the Metroid series as a whole is not one of Nintendo's more better-selling series, and I feel like they kind of need to bring the guns out a little bit, even if it means spoiling stuff to get more people on board. But that's just my opinion. In the Switch 2 Blowout Direct, we didn't get a new trailer for the game, but we did get a little bit of information about what kind of features we would be able to enjoy in the Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime 4, such as the ability to play the game in 120 frames per second, which definitely was much appreciated, and the ability to use the Nintendo Switch 2 Joy-Con in mouse mode to aim, which... as I understand it, I've not played this game at any of the preview events at which it's been available at over the course of the past few months, but that particular feature has been showcased at some of the preview events that it's been at, and people that have played it said that it feels pretty good. Yeah. So I'm definitely excited a lot about that. That's definitely going to be a lot of fun to finally experience.
I'll be honest, I completely forgot that the Switch 2 has mouse stuff in the Joy-Cons.
I experienced a lot of the mouse controls firsthand because I played Nintendo Switch 2. It's not called Welcome Park because Welcome Park is the Vita game. Welcome Tour.
Yeah,
let me tell you.
I played that one. That was actually the first game that I played on the Switch 2 because I bought it the night it came out and I streamed it a bit because I was like, this is so fucking dumb. And it's $10 and I just spent $500. I might as well spend 10 more.
If I ever met a Mr. Nintendo, I like to think that I carry myself with a lot of dignity, but I might genuinely consider asking them for a refund on that game because I did not enjoy that game one bit.
We're going to play that during our extra live stream.
Whew, man. Anyways. But yeah, that's exciting. And then a couple of months ago, actually less than a month ago at this point, because I don't remember. 12th. Okay, so just over a month and 2 days ago, we got our 3rd and most recent trailer for Metroid Prime 4, which showcased Samus Aran's bicycle. She got a motorbike, and she can use it to ride around the desert and all sorts of interesting, vast environments. This trailer triggered something of a mixed reaction from the community that I didn't necessarily entirely agree with, but I can definitely kind of see where the community is coming from. For a lot of people within the Metroid community, what they come to the Metroid Prime series for, to the Metroid series as a whole for, are linear environments that are crafted, that, you know, employ puzzles and a lot of these, you know, design elements that are kind of harder to create in kind of like more open-ended, open-world, non-linear environments that are, so pervasive in so much of the kind of AAA video game scene nowadays. And a lot of people saw Samus Aran's motorcycle in this trailer. They saw the vast, open environments that she was riding through, and they kind of quietly revolted and were like, yo, it's not that great that it seems like Metroid Prime 4 is going in the direction of turning into an open world game.
Yeah.
Based on everything that we've seen so far, based on what we know so far, there's no evidence to suggest that Metroid Prime 4 will be fully open world. It would seem as if it's going to be more akin to an experience where you will have more linear and contained sections, and occasionally those linear sections will bleed out into larger, more open-ended areas. Or perhaps it will be something more akin to like The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, where you have Hyrule Field at the center of the game that serves as a more like open-ended environment, and it serves as a hub that bleeds into all of the other more linear, levels and areas
that's what,
extend out of it.
What Pokemon Sword and Shield had with like the open world area, which was essentially just, hey, here's this giant middle area for you to go from this city to this city. Instead of the paths, it's just, oh, you're in this city, you go down to the giant field, and then you go over here and you go into an elevator, now you're in the second city.
That's a really good comparison. It's a really good point of comparison.
But I'll be honest, watching this trailer made me angry because I saw her getting onto a motorcycle, and then I saw this part, and I was like, oh, fuck yeah, Samus is going to be in Mario Kart. And then, nope.
Yeah. And unfortunately, she should be in Mario Kart, by the way. They really should add her to that game.
I mean, you probably can't use this motorcycle because it's super long, so that's unfair.
But they can definitely, now that they've shown her riding around on a motorcycle, they have more of a justification to fit her in that particular franchise. Anyways, getting back to the trailer in question, the problem, ultimately, I think, just sort of comes down to messaging and communication. The second trailer, the one that talked about her psychic abilities and her, the way in which she can use them to open doors, had the issue of over-explaining things. We didn't need that trailer to explain that she can use her psychic abilities to do all these mundane tasks. This trailer definitely needed a voiceover narration being like, hey, in this particular game, Samus Aran can ride around on her motorcycle, Viola, in various environments that are not necessarily representative of a large open-ended game, but provide open-ended opportunities within a largely crafted linear experience. You need someone emphasizing the overall nature of the game that's at hand here, and the trailer didn't really do a good job of that, nor did any of the material that released after the trailer, help to, improve the situation. Yeah. That aside, the game still continues to look great for the most part. A lot of the environments that Samus Aran was, riding around on her motorcycle definitely looked a little worse for wear, definitely looked a little Scarlet and Violet-esque in terms of their visual fidelity.
It's just a giant desert.
But whenever Samus Aran goes into those smaller, more contained environments, the game looks great. So there's still a lot of reason to be hopeful coming off of this trailer. I don't think that we should run around with our like chickens with their heads cut off coming off of this trailer the way that some people did on the internet. But I definitely would not put this particular trailer in the pantheon of incredibly descriptive and explanatory trailers that did justice by the part of the games that they're representing.
Well, one thing that I'm noticing in this trailer is that, and maybe it's just because a lot of it is like indoors, but it's like the outside, the desert where she's just riding around. No, I mean, this is also outside as well, but like it's clearly the daytime and it's like very bright. Everything else is super dark. This other world with like, the snow, it looks like, I'm assuming it's a snow world. The last one where there's like a red sky. So I'm wondering, this one, where it's just, and yeah, everything else is like super dark except for that desert planet. So I'm wondering if that is just one, that might be like the one planet that has just the most open space for you to go around in. Just to be like, hey, you've got this motorcycle and you can kind of go fuck around with it on, Arizona.
Yeah. We also got, as we're seeing at the end of the trailer, announcement of some of the amiibos for this game, which, let me tell you, I am definitely going to pick up those amiibos because I have not been good in the past at picking up the Metroid series, small collection of amiibos, but man, those things are expensive, especially over here in Canada. Ooh, man. But
I have one amiibo.
that's the tax you got to play. What's the amiibo?
It's Sora from Kingdom Hearts.
Oh,
Yeah,
Nice.
I bought two.
what a nice little boy.
Yeah, I bought two.
Boy.
One is just in my living room. It's still in the box, and then the other one I gave to our friend Verum Dex when I saw him last year at the Game Awards.
Aw.
And the
Aw.
only other amiibo that I wish that I had, that I'm looking for, but they just like it's impossible to find like brand new anymore, is Joker from Persona, because they made a Joker one when he was added to Smash, and but other than that, the only other amiibo that I want is this one with the fucking motorcycle because it looks sick.
I'm watching the trailer again, and man, like this game, yeah, all the complaints that I was vocalizing earlier still stand. Again, don't love the way that the environments look when Samus Aran was riding around on the motorcycle. The game still looks really good in a lot of moments.
Yeah,
Still
take out
looks
the
a lot of good.
motorcycle bit, and what are you thinking?
I mean, I think that this game will be no less than good. I know that's a ringing endorsement. I think that Nintendo really needs to step up their marketing between now and the game's release. We're less than 2 months away at this point. There's a Metroid Prime 1 through 3 visual retrospective book that's releasing at the end of the month. One would hope that a lot of their marketing for the game will pick up to kind of coincide with the release of that particular piece of media.
I think we're going to see a lot more of it in maybe give it maybe 2 weeks from now, because then it's hey, Pokemon Z to A is out,
right?
And now our next thing is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and that is our that's the last thing for 2025. So I think you're gonna see the. I mean, I'm assuming, and I could be wrong, it's Nintendo, so they might just be like, oh, yeah, remember Pokemon Red? But, like, I would imagine the marketing is going to ramp up considerably. Maybe even just, like, the beginning of November until this game, like, for a month until this game comes out.
Nintendo, like we said earlier in the podcast, is really weird when it comes to their games and spoilers. They are often want to withhold really cool aspects of their games because they're really incentivized to make sure that people experience those things firsthand and aren't spoiled to them ahead of time. All that said, I really do hope that they do a proper Metroid Direct in which they go deep into some of the things that people can experience in this game, because I really feel like this franchise deserves it, especially after we've already gotten directs for so many other Prime Nintendo franchises over the course of the past year or so. Like, we got a Kirby Air Riders Direct, and that one I think felt like a little bit more of a...
one.
They did. And that one, to be fair, that one was a little bit more of a slam dunk because Masahiro Sakurai is, a developer that is, more than used to speaking in front of a camera, because he basically did like a dozen Smash Bros. Directs over the course of the past several years, over the course of him announcing all the DLC fighters for that particular game. So, I mean, that made a little bit more sense than, I can't even imagine who they would get in front of the camera to talk about Metroid Prime 4, but like, I really think that the franchise deserves it. I really feel like it deserves its moment in the sun. I really feel like it deserves an opportunity for Nintendo to kind of like lay down and just like speak intimately to fans of the franchise and people that are interested that have never played a Metroid Prime game before, to really kind of sell them on why this game is potentially going to be really special and really awesome.
I completely forgot about Kirby Air Riders, and that comes out November 20th. So literally 2 weeks before this. So yeah, my whole like, hey, the next big thing they have is this is not. That's not the case, because they're really pushing Kirby Air Riders they've already had a big direct. But once again, it comes out 2 weeks before this, and they did a big direct, a few weeks back. So I would honestly be more shocked if there wasn't a Metroid Prime 4 Beyond like straight up direct before the 4th of December than if there was one. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's going to happen, but I do think this will probably take a backseat to Kirby Air Riders, unfortunately.
Yeah.
As it already has.
Yeah, and the release date, it coming out late December, is just a little bit Like, here's the thing.
I mean,
there are
December
many
4th,
examples.
It's like right at the beginning of December.
There are many examples of games that we can point to that came out at the tippy-tip end of the year in December that ended up being totally great. I don't think that we need to be concerned about this game releasing in December, but it's an unglamorous time of the year. You really want a game like Metroid Prime 4 to have like that November, October release slot when there are more eyes on it, where it could potentially even get juice for like a Game Award nomination.
That's
you know,
I'm going to look that up right now because I know the Game Awards cut off.
Yeah, it's cut off. It won't be able to make this year's Game Awards stuff.
Because the Game Awards takes place a week after this game comes out. Like, this game comes out on the 4th. The Monday of the next week is the 8th, and that is when President is playing in LA, and I really want to go. And then the Game Awards are that Thursday. So 8, 9, 10, the 11th. So yeah, a week after this game comes out, it's the Game Awards. So I don't...
If Nintendo came out tomorrow and was like, hey, we're delaying Metroid Prime 4 to February of 2026. We're sorry. We know that you've been waiting this game for an incredibly long time, but we got to push it a little bit further away so that we can just absolutely give it that final push of polish it deserves and give it the proper marketing beats that it deserves. I would be like, I don't care. I know this puts it close to a 18-year gap between the releases of Metroid Prime 3 and Metroid Prime 4, but this, in my eyes, would be nothing but a net win for this game.
Yeah.
It coming out at the end of December, I don't think will necessarily be bad, but like if it was coming out in February, I think that would actually be even better.
You don't have, and December 4th, off the top of my head, I don't know anything else that's coming out kind of like right then and everything, because a lot of games now, because of Jeff Keighley, they're like, let's get we think this is going to be really good. We think we can push for some sort of Game Awards, because I'm assuming it's not going to be at the same level, but like movies, when they come out on DVD, or even if they're in theaters, if they can even get that thing, that little sign on their poster that says nominated for an Oscar, that adds like $1 million at least to their box office, because people are just like, oh yeah, the Oscar movies I'm going to go see. So if you can even get that thing that's been like nominated for the Game Awards for something, that can help. So I'm assuming there's a lot of companies that are trying to get stuff out beforehand, whereas what the fuck else is coming out in December?
Yeah, I don't really know.
I think it'll have
there's
the
like
lion's
one
share of
big game that's coming out, right?
There's a what?
Hold on a sec. Let me look this up real quick. 2025 game releases by month. We're really getting in the weeds here. I love it.
Well, while he looks that up, what I'm saying is I can't think of any, and there's probably something that I'm just not thinking in my head, but this will probably get the lion's share of attention when it comes out, because at least for a week, because then the week afterwards you got the Game Awards, you've got all that stuff, but then for December, if you've got anything up, what else is really coming out in December?
So, December 2nd, on PC, you have Rising Heat. Then also on December 2nd, you have She's Leaving. These don't sound like real games. Nope. December 3rd, Let It Die, Inferno. I think that game was shown off in the most recent PlayStation Direct. Yeah. And then on December 4th, you have 3 other games that are coming out on the same day as Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. You have Blood, Refresh Supply.
Is it Blood, B-L-U-D?
No, it's B-L-O-O-D.
Oh, okay. Oh, then I have no idea. All right.
You have Toxic Crusaders. I believe that's the game from the horror director, John Carpenter.
Probably, yeah.
Does that sound correct?
No.
I think that's correct. And then you also have Octopath Traveler 0, which is kind of a big game.
Remaster of a mobile game.
And then on December 10th, you have Mutant Football League 2. So yeah, you don't really have anything directly
Metroid.
competing.
Yep, no, that is Metroid or Mutant Football Pro 2.
Mutant Football League 2.
That's what I said. Yeah, so I think I think this will be the game of December. Just like last year, if I remember correctly, Indiana Jones was the game of December. You know.
Yeah,
It came out just like too late for it to be at the Game Awards.
And that game is a great example of a game that, you know, had some iffy trailers. We weren't certain if that game was going to come together, and that game ended up getting great reviews and is, you know, generally regarded as a great December release. So there's reason to be hopeful.
I just want to make sure that came out in December 9th.
That definitely
December
came
9th.
out in December. Yep.
Yeah, it came out like a couple days before the Game Awards. And then Harrison Ford was at the Game Awards, and I was like, oh my god, I'm in the same room as Harrison Ford. Even though, you know, half an hour before that, I was like, oh my god, I'm in the same room as, shit. I've been drinking, so I can't remember their names, but the old guys from this, from the Muppets.
Statler and Waldorf.
Statler
and Waldorf.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, like I saw, they were there at the pre-show, and I saw them popping up. And I'm like, oh my god, those are fucking legends. Holy shit. And then half an hour later, Harrison Ford was on stage. And then 45 minutes later, Snoop Dogg was on stage. And at the time, I was like, that's cool. And then he, you know, went and performed for Trump, and I was like, you know what? I saw the Muppets.
Well. Ah, man. So that's Metroid Prime 4 and the Metroid series as a whole, and also Metroid Other M. And we talked a little bit about, I mean, most of the other Metroid games over the course of that conversation. There are a couple of Metroid side games we didn't really get in there, but I'm sure there will be an opportunity to do so in the future. I realized that as we, you know, got deep into Metroid Prime 4, the conversation, you know, veered into some, you know, less enthusiastic places. But I do genuinely think that Retro Studios has an opportunity here to surprise all of us and knock things out of the park. At the very beginning of this podcast, I talked a little bit about the road to the release of the Metroid Prime, to the release of the original Metroid Prime. And, you know, as we talked about there, when Metroid Prime 1 was originally announced, there was a lot of trepidation around that title as well. People were incredibly nervous about, you know, Nintendo and Retro Studios taking the series in a first-person direction. Retro Studios was, you know, unproven at the time. Nobody knew what they were kind of capable of. And yet, against all odds, they managed to pull a fantastic game out of their hat. And Metroid Prime 1 is remembered as a, you know, classic forevermore. And I think that they totally have the potential to do the same thing again with Metroid Prime 4. And I think that now it's just a matter of waiting and fingers crossed, hoping that we will get that Nintendo Direct to help further assuage things.
Yeah. I was just looking up the games that Retro Studios had made, thinking maybe they did something. No, Metroid Prime was their first game.
Yeah, they were working on like 4 or 5 games that all got canceled in favor of Metroid Prime 1.
Metaforce, mostly concept artwork, this according to Wikipedia.
Yeah, Ravenblade, that was the other big one.
Yeah, NFL Retro Football.
Right. Well, the reason they were working on that NFL game is because back when they were Iguana Entertainment, back when they were working on the Turok games, the other games that they worked on were sports games. They made a lot of sports games during their Iguana Entertainment games. So that was them being like, well, we got to keep making sports games, but they never ended up making any.
The game designers initially wanted to make a Mario American football game, but Nintendo settled on a realistic simulator with the NFL license, due to Retro's purpose of creating mature games. The game was canceled in February of 2001. A possible cause was Electronic Arts and Sega agreeing to port the Madden NFL and NFL 2K games to the GameCube. And then...
So it goes.
And then Car Combat / Thunder Rally working titles. Vehicular combat games in the vein of Twisted Metal. It was initially pitched to Nintendo as a mix of Quake World, Twisted Metal 2, and Mario Kart 64 with shades of Mad Max and Street Fighter 2. What the fuck?
Man. Earlier on in the podcast, I alluded to Polygon having done an article about the history of Retro Studios. The article in question is called The Rocky Story of Retro Studios Before Metroid Prime. It was published in May of 2018. Definitely go and give it a read. The part of the article that really left me kind of scratching my head, and the part that I would imagine really left Retro Studios scratching their heads back in the day was like the part where Shigeru Miyamoto comes to Retro Studios and it's like, hey, we got this franchise called Metroid. It's incredibly acclaimed. Do you guys want to work on it? And the folks at Retro Studios are like, all we've worked on up until this point in time are like 4 games that got canceled. Nobody believes in us. Why are you giving us like one of your crown jewels? Mind you, Metroid was, not a crown jewel at the time on the level of a Zelda or a Mario. They had a little bit more leeway with that compared to the likes of some of Nintendo's bigger franchises. But it was genuinely like, why is Nintendo giving us such like gigantic responsibilities despite the fact that we haven't proved ourselves? It's a fascinating story. Definitely go and give this article a read.
Yep. All right. Let's get to wrapping up here. Mike, are you streaming this week? Actually, yeah, we are tonight. We're doing
tonight we are
on all the Twitches. My Twitch, Mike's Twitch, the other ones, Dex, Neon Pocket Dimension, and our YouTube. This YouTube channel that you're watching this on, we'll be live on there with a vertical with just me. Hi.
Look at him.
Kozibear.
Yes.
What have you got? What have you got in the works? You got Respawn Aim Fire podcast.
Yes. You can obviously find me on the Respawning Fire podcast. You can find us over on Blue Sky at respawningfire.bluesky.social. And you can also watch our episodes live on Twitch now on twitch.tv/respawningfire. It used to be twitch.tv/affable idiots for the longest period of time. And we finally decided just recently to make it officially just Respawning Fire, consolidate our branding, as the kids say these days. And of course, you can also, if you don't want to watch our episodes live or aren't able to, you can catch them after the fact on podcast services and on YouTube at youtube.com/@respawningfire as well. You can also find myself on Blue Sky at kozibear.bluesky.social. I work on a bunch of small little projects here and there. I've been making a bunch of mini video game projects for the Kind of Funny Happy Hour, and perhaps I will have more cool stuff in that vein to share in the future, but only time will tell what I have in store.
He might tell us after we stop recording here in a moment. So when I tell him the fun secret guest that we'll have in a couple weeks.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, all right, y'all. We will see you all next week. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Mike, I love you. Cozy, I love you,
buddy.
People that are watching.
Thank you.
You know what? I'm not entirely sure who you are, but you're probably cool people. So I appreciate you. Share us with your friends. We will see you next week. And then, I don't know what else to... Bye.
Goodbye.